Hi, I'm Gidon from technologyman.com. A head torch is arguably the most useful torch you can own. They're useful for camping, fishing, walking and running, but they're also great for working on the bike or car and general DIY tasks, especially in winter with the shorter days. I've hand-picked 16 head torches from all the big brands. I have budget torches starting at under £20 to more specialised torches that cost over £150. I've thoroughly tested all of them over the last 3 months and scored them in a number of categories to try and help you choose the right one for you. I'm scoring each head torch out of 10 in 8 categories for a total score out of 80, which I'll convert to a percentage. I'll choose a winner in 3 categories: Best Budget Head Torch, Best Running Head Torch and Best All-Round Head Torch. I've got links down below to all the head torches in this roundup for current pricing and further information. You can also check out my 2 previous roundups on keychain torches and pocket torches. There'll be links on screen and down below. They might also be useful if you're unfamiliar with any of the terms I use in this video. If you like my content, please like and share the video and subscribe to my channel and leave a comment. With that out of the way, let's get started. First off, I scored comfort, probably the most underrated feature of a head torch. How comfortable is the strap, especially for longer periods of time? How easy is the strap to adjust? How balanced does a head torch feel on your head? Does it move around during more vigorous activities like running? I much prefer head torches without a top strap, and I also found a wider strap more comfortable. Some straps also come with silicone grippers to prevent the head torch slipping with vigorous activities like running, especially when your head gets sweaty. I wore all the head torches for long periods of time on walks, household jobs inside and out, and for running. Overall, I found the Fenix HM65 RT and Petzl Now RL the most comfortable. The Fenix is not the lightest head torch on test at 143 grams and has all the weight at the front, but it has a wide headband and an ingenious boa-style ratcheting dial to quickly adjust for a perfect fit. On a sweaty run, I did find it slip slightly sometimes. It doesn't have any silicone grippers, but even with gloves on, you can easily tighten the strap if there's any movement. The Petzl Now RL weighs about the same at 145 grams, but has the battery at the back, so feels lighter and better balanced on your head. You barely notice it, and I found it the most comfortable for running out of all the head torches. Its adjustment is also very straightforward, but not as easy as a Fenix to adjust while it's on your head. The Nitecore NU43 also deserves a mention. It too has a premium perforated wider strap, and with silicone grippers is very comfortable when running and for general use. And although it uses the standard head strap adjustment, it works a lot better than most. The Olight Perrin 2 was one of the most uncomfortable head torches. At 222 grams, it's by far the heaviest head torch, although its larger size does give it some advantages we'll come back to. But as well as being heavy, the strap is a little fiddly to adjust, and the strap material feels cheap. Because of its weight, the top strap does mean you don't need the main strap so tight, but I'd still prefer to remove this top strap for casual use, and that's not possible, it's stitched in. Since I like the Perrin 2 in lots of other ways, I actually used it in the Perrin 2 Mini head strap on a few occasions. This strap does support it, but it's only really suitable for shorter stints. The ThruNite TH30 V2 is another very good head torch let down by an uncomfortable head strap. This head strap also feels very cheap, with a non-removable top strap, and I actually found the rubber mount dug into my forehead, so even though it's lighter at 169 grams, it's probably even more uncomfortable to wear than the Perrin 2. If you wear a cap, these straps probably won't be as much of an issue. Next, I scored the torches on ease of use. This is especially important for a head torch since you're usually controlling it by feel. And if you're using the torch for running, easy adjustment is even more important. The Olight Perrin 2, Fenix WH23R, ThruNite TH30 V2, Petzl Now RL and Silver Trail Speed 5R scored best in this category. The Perrin 2 has a nice large side button and my favourite user interface. A single press to turn it on, and then a long press to cycle through low, medium and high. But most importantly, quick access to both an ultra-low moonlight mode with a long press of the power button with the torch off. Great when you don't want to wake your partner up or destroy your night vision. And quick access to the full brightness turbo mode with a double press of the power button with the torch on or off. The Perrin 2 and Perrin 2 Mini also have Olight's magnetic charging, which is super convenient for a household torch. You only need to get it close to the charger and it snaps into position. It means I very rarely forget to charge my Olight torches with this feature. But it is a proprietary connection, so you're stuck without the Olight cable. The ThruNite TH30 V2 has an almost identical user interface, and the side power button is also large and easy to locate. The Petzl and Silver are dedicated running torches and have a simple interface with just 3 modes that you cycle through each time you press the power button. The Petzl cycles through to off, whereas the Silver needs a long press to turn it off, which I prefer. A few times I've ended up turning off the Petzl accidentally trying to change mode, typically on a technical trail where you really need to see where you're going. They do both have intelligent modes which complicate things slightly but are fairly well thought out. The Petzl has a reactive mode that uses a proximity sensor to adjust the output and beam pattern based on your surroundings. The Silver adjusts its output and beam pattern based on the manual tilt of the head torch, wider when tilted down and more focused when tilted up. You can turn these modes off, which are both on by default. A long press of the power button with the torch on with the Petzl, and with the Silver you turn the torch on with a long press to disable the intelligent mode. The default mode is activated with a single press. The Fenix WH23R has an interesting user interface with a knob that you twist to turn the torch on and move from the spotlight to flood to turbo with both the spotlight and flood. The brightness level is then controlled with the side button, which is memorised. It's very easy to use and the knob is strangely satisfying with smooth positive clicks. None of the torches in the roundup scored too badly in this category, but I found the Nitecore HC68 and Science Sky HS6R a little overcomplicated, even though this complexity does provide more customisation, which we'll come back to. Now we come to output, the most heavily marketed feature, but also the most misleading. Like with my previous torch roundups, I've measured their true output with my home-built calibrated lumen chamber, although I did have to make a few modifications to test these head torches. I set them to their highest brightness level and measured their output over 10 minutes. I've plotted all these measurements so you can see for yourself how they compare. As I've covered in previous videos, manufacturers should use the ANSI FL1 standard for their brightness claims. This is the measured brightness in lumens 30 seconds after turning the torch on. I couldn't measure the Nitecore NU43 or olight Perrin 2 since they have proximity sensors that lower the output when there is an obstruction, and this can't be disabled. The Petzl Now RL also has a proximity sensor, but you can disable this as we just discussed. Although in this standard mode, the output is reduced from 1500 to 900 lumens, so I couldn't measure its theoretical highest output. Nearly all the torches I could test met their manufacturer's claims, within the accuracy of my testing setup at least. Only the Science Sky HS6R came out a fair bit lower than its spec 1200 lumens at around 900 lumens. It's more interesting to see how their output drops off over time. Nearly all maximum outputs had dropped off considerably after a minute or two, and even more after 5 minutes. The best performer here was the ThruNite TH30V2, which had the highest initial output and held around 2600 lumens for 2 minutes, which is impressive. Even then, only dropped to around 1800 lumens for another couple of minutes before dropping to still over 1000 lumens, which it held for the remaining measurements. An excellent performance and even better than spec. The Fenix HM65RT also did well, exceeding its spec initially and then holding just under 900 lumens for the remaining measurements. Most of the other torches ended up between 300 and 500 lumens after 10 minutes. For trail running, I find I'd like at least 500 lumens. For road running, you can get away with less. One thing to note in these measurements is they were done indoors without any cooling. I measured all the head torches with a FLIR thermal imaging camera, and the Silver in particular got quite hot and no doubt dropped its output accordingly. In real use in cool conditions, some of these torches may have held their higher outputs for longer, but we can still see how all these torches compare in a controlled environment. Olight specs 2500 lumens for the Perrin 2, dropping to 800 lumens after 2 minutes, and they are usually quite accurate in their marketing claims, so I've used those outputs for my scoring. The Perrin 2's proximity sensor is quite sensitive though, and I found the output dimmed not just when it was raining, but even occasionally when there was moisture in the air. Another reason I'd like to be able to disable this sensor. Although I couldn't measure the full 1500 lumen output of the Petzl Now RL, in my test it appeared less bright in its reactive mode than in its 900 lumen standard mode. I tested this several times outside, ensuring there were no obstructions or even rain that might mislead the proximity sensor. I did contact Petzl for a replacement unit to test, but still haven't received anything. If I do receive another unit, I'll update the written article at thetechnologyman.com accordingly. For the scores, I also took into account the beam pattern. Torches with separate flood and spot LEDs fared a little better here, allowing both near and far vision. When running, a soft edge to the beam is also very important. A hard edge to the beam gives you what feels like tunnel vision when it's pitch dark, which I found quite unpleasant. The running specific head torches, namely the Petzl, Silver and Fenix HM65RT, all did quite well here. And even though the Silver's output was a little low, they all scored well in this category, as well as the ThruNite TH30V2, olight Perrin 2 and the Nitecore HC68. Battery life is dependent on the efficiency of the electronics and the size of the torch. The larger torches that take bigger batteries will of course perform better, but they are heavier and often more expensive. I had to rely on manufacturer's specs since it would take too long to try and confirm their claims. The quoted battery life of manufacturers can also be misleading. It's again based on the ANSI standard, but in this case it's the amount of time it takes for the torch to reach 10% of its initial brightness. Most people would find 10% brightness too dim to actually be useful. All the torches that run off an 18650 can last for many hours on even their medium and high modes, and scored well here. The Olight Parent 2 is the only torch with an even larger 21700 battery and can run for 18 hours at a still decent 120 lumens. Build quality was pretty good across the board. Even the budget Sofern HS20 and HS10 feel well built with an all-metal construction and have at least an IPX8 waterproof rating. The Petzl Now RL feels very plasticky, but that keeps the weight down, and I've been using its predecessor, the Now Plus, for years and it's fared very well. The soft rubber pads did eventually fail, but Petzl sent me replacement pads free of charge, with the torch well outside of warranty. The Fenix HM65RT, HM50R V2 and Silver Trailspeed 5R probably have the best build quality, with the Olight Parent 2 and Parent 2 Mini and the Nightcore lights following very closely behind. The Science Sky head torches appear quite well built, and they're the only head torches with a metal mount. However, this mount snapped on the HS3R trying to reinsert the torch into it, and it's difficult not to scratch off the anodizing even if all goes to plan. The quality of light can be important if you're using the head torch for longer periods of time. I measured the colour temperature and accuracy of all the head torches with a spectrometer. Take a look at my video on keychain torches for an explanation of any terms I use here you're not familiar with. You can see full details of these measurements in the written article if you're interested. There'll be a link down below. Most of these head torches were fairly mediocre in this category, with cool colour temperatures, often slightly green tints and poor colour accuracy. This sounds worse than it actually is. Most people probably won't care about this. The best performers in this category were the Science Sky HS6R and the Sofern HS20. They both have a neutral white high CRI flood LED for excellent colour reproduction. If you prefer a neutral white head torch but aren't so concerned about colour accuracy, the Parent 2 Mini I'm testing here is a neutral white version and measured around 5000 Kelvin. Warmer than most of the other head torches in this roundup, apart from the Science Sky and Sofern. I also gave a score out of 10 for any additional features of note. Some torches lost a point if they had USB-C charging but don't support charging with a USB-C to USB-C cable, like the Petzl Now RL. But in its defence, you can use a detachable battery pack to charge other gadgets, and it comes with a storage pouch that can also turn the light into a lantern. Plus it has a red LED on the battery pack that sits at the back of your head, a very useful safety feature if you're using the torch for road running. The Olight Array 2 Pro also has this feature, but it's not as bright and you can't turn it off on the Olight like you can on the Petzl. The Science Sky HS6R also did quite well in this category, with the flood, spot and red light configurable with 2 separate buttons. I gave an extra point to all the torches that came with the red light mode, useful when you want to preserve your night vision. I also gave an extra point to any torch that can be removed from the head strap and used as a handheld torch, which makes them more versatile. Most of them also came with a pocket clip, and some also had a magnetic base to use them as a work light. The Nightcore HC68 had an interesting, if a little complex feature that lets you set the exact balance between the spot and flood beam. Finally, I scored the head torches on value, taking into account all their features and build quality and their price. This was an easy win for the 2 Sofern lights, which are excellent value if you purchase them directly from Sofern's website, although be prepared to wait a couple of weeks for delivery. The ThruNite TH30 V2 is also excellent value and readily available on Amazon. Which leads me conveniently onto my overall picks. The best overall budget torch is a Sofern HS20, which scored 73%. If you order this directly from China, it costs just $38 or £31. It's one of the brightest head torches I've tested, has the high CRI flood LED, charges off USB-C and takes a standard 18650 battery. It does have a fairly basic head strap and it can't be used as a handheld torch, but overall it's a worthy winner. The best running torch was a Petzl Now RL with a score of 78%. It was the most comfortable head torch, you really do forget it's on your head. In its high mode, it was able to maintain enough brightness for pitch dark trail runs. It's simple to operate, which is crucial for running, and I do like having a built-in rear red LED for running. It's certainly not perfect though. It does feel very plasticky, but more importantly, in the reactive mode it doesn't seem to get close to its claimed 1500 lumen output, and doesn't support charging with a USB-C to USB-C cable. The Silver and Fenix HM65RT both came in a close second. The Silver feels premium and has an excellent range of accessories available. You can get bigger batteries and helmet and handlebar mounts for cycling. I just found its output a little lacking considering its price. The Fenix I'll discuss shortly. The best option if you don't want to spend over £100 on a running head torch is a Nightcore NU43. It also has a very comfortable headband, a simple user interface, and enough output for most runs. If you're into long running events or night hikes, you'll either have to run or walk with less light for extended run times or carry spare batteries. Here the Fenix is by far the cheapest option. It takes standard 18650 batteries which also don't weigh much. Which brings me to the overall winner, The Fenix HM65RT came out as the best all-round head torch with a score of 79%. It's an excellent torch for running, coming in just behind the Petzl, but it's also great as a general purpose head torch for just about anything. If you want one head torch that does it all, this is the one. It has the best head strap. I'd love to see this ratcheting system on other head straps. It has a simple interface, a separate button for each LED. For general use around the house, the flood LED is very useful. The spot LED is useful for walking, hiking and running. I found the best combination for my trail runs was high flood and medium spot. If I needed to see the trail far ahead, I activated the high spot mode briefly. I do wish there was at least quick access to a turbo mode. Having to cycle through two buttons to enter the brightest mode is awkward, especially when running. And then you have to cycle back through the lower modes to get back to where you were. So not as easy to use as a running torch compared to the Petzl and Silver. I also would have liked it to tilt up a little bit more to make full use of the spot beam without having to tilt up my head. It is also only a head torch. You can't remove it from the headband and use it as a handheld torch. If you want that flexibility and don't need it for running, I do like the Olight Perrin 2 as a general purpose head torch. It scored 74% overall. It has one of the best user interfaces, good output and battery life, and the convenient magnetic charging ensures it's always ready to go. It is a little big for a head torch though, although a better head strap could transform it. The ThruNite TH30V2 is a cheaper option and weighs a little less, with similar output levels to the Perrin 2. It also takes a standard 18650 battery, unlike the Perrin 2, and has standard USB-C charging. The Nitecore HC68 is another great option, but at its RRP it's quite pricey. On sale it'd definitely be worth considering. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. What would be your pick out of these 16 head torches? And let me know of any head torches I've missed that you want included in the next roundup. Also let me know what torches you want me to look at next. Budget torches off Amazon, crazy high lumen torches, or something else. As always, if you have any questions, please ask. I read every comment and will do my best to respond. I do hope you found this video useful. Please like the video if you did. I'm releasing videos every week on the latest technology and how to get the most out of it, so please make sure you subscribe. And don't forget to tap the bell icon if you want to get notified as soon as a new video gets uploaded. Thanks for watching.